We're here on an initial permanency hearing. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the children. Mr. Taylor's with us representing an unknown father. Ms. Grant is with us representing the mother, Ms. Holman, who I show is incarcerated. And then we have a Mr. Cabello, who is an alleged father, and he is not with us. I have Amy Prater in the waiting room. So, Ms. Gutierrez, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, we ask the court to take judicial notice of our petition alleging that Mr. Cabello is an alleged father.
Okay, so noted.
We next ask the court to appoint an attorney to him, as we intend to, once we get the final, terminate him under the alleged father statute.
I will appoint an attorney for him today.
Thank you, Your Honor. And the department calls Amy Prater as its witness. And did you prepare and file a court report on December 19th, 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, we ask that the court take judicial notice of that court report.
All right, so noted, and I have read that report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Amy, can you give us some details on how Josiah is doing in her current placement?
She's doing very well in her placement. She is developing normally. We did have some issues previously with Josiah in her social interactions in daycare. She would kind of charge or like buck up to other children. So we do have her in play therapy where we're addressing that.
Okay, who is she in play therapy with?
She is in play therapy with Delois Hinders.
Okay, and is she currently placed in a foster home in Randall County?
She is.
And she's been in that home since October, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Alrighty. Now, your court report indicates that mom had requested a home study on fictive kin, is that correct?
Mom did not request this home study. The fictive kin relative reached out to me herself.
Okay, and what were the names of those people?
Christy and Ramon Martinez.
Now, when you discussed this home study with Ms. Holman, what did she state?
She stated that she did not want Josiah moving in with them because Mr. and Mrs. Martinez have expressed that if the case was to head that way, they would be interested in adopting Josiah. And Ms. Holman knows that, and she's afraid that they would adopt Josiah.
Now, did St. Francis go ahead and continue with that home study, or did you cancel it?
We continued. It is pending right now.
Thank you. Is the child up to date on her medical and dental exams?
She is.
And how is she doing in daycare at this time since play therapy has started?
She's doing a lot better socially. She does kind of have her days where tantrums are imminent, but she's doing well. She is being potty trained by her caregivers, and her daycare is kind of implementing that as well, and she's doing very good.
Now, how is Ms. Holman progressing in her service plan?
Ms. Holman is currently incarcerated at Potter County Jail. Prior to her arrest, she had not been participating in her service plan.
And has she given you any significant news since she has been in Potter County Jail?
She has.
What is that news?
She's currently pregnant.
And prior to her being arrested and placed in Potter County Jail, how many visits had she had with Josiah?
Very few. I would say probably about 5.
Okay. And how many opportunities for visits total was she given?
She was given the weekly opportunity to visit with Josiah. She was given 2 times per week when Josiah was placed out of region, and then once weekly once she was moved. We did have 1 in-person visit before she was arrested.
And how is Mr. Cabello, the alleged father, doing on his services?
As to my knowledge, he's non-compliant at this time. I did visit with Mr. Cabello in October when he was incarcerated at Potter County. When I spoke with him, he does not believe that he's Josiah's father. He did state that if he is, then he is unsure how he wants to proceed.
And has he complied with any services? Has he complied? Yeah.
Oh, sorry, not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. What is the current goal in this case?
Family reunification.
What is the concurrent goal?
Relative adoption.
asking for any drug screens today?
Isaiah Cabello, please.
Hair follicle and urinalysis?
Yes.
Now, while incarcerated, is Ms. Holman completing any services?
She reported that she is working on doing a parenting while incarcerated course. I did let her know to continue with that and supply me any certificates or verification that she's completed it, and she has not done so at this time.
Are there any recommended services for either parent that we are asking to be made in order of the court?
Not at this time.
And is Mr. Cabello visiting with the child?
No, ma'am.
Pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Ms. Prater, what is Ms. Holman currently incarcerated for? I've seen some prior convictions on her.
She's currently incarcerated for probation revocation for assault of a peace officer, as well, I believe, as bond forfeiture.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right then, Ms. Grant.
Ms. Prather, what are the fictive kin relationships between the Martinezes and the child?
Christy Martinez is Josiah's step-grandmother's best friend.
Okay, what contact has she had with the child prior to requesting a home study?
Very minimal, given she has had a relationship with Alayla prior to Josiah coming into care. Christy was Alayla's boss for some time.
Okay, and so is it your testimony that they meet the required definitions of fictive kin in this case? Per your procedure?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, and have you visited Alayla Homan in December in Potter County Detention Center?
Yes, I have.
And do you have any information regarding the parentage of the child she's currently pregnant with as to the father?
She refuses to tell me.
Okay, pass the witness, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Is Mr. Cabello the only person she has identified as the possible father of the child?
Yes.
So we really don't, and he has denied or
Yes.
doubts being the father.
Yes.
So we really don't know for sure who the father might be.
I'm unsure, yes.
Nothing further on.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
All right. All right, any follow-ups?
Yes, Your Honor, one follow-up.
Okay.
Amy, are we asking the court to set a final hearing as our next hearing, or would you like another permanency hearing before a final?
Permanency hearing before final. Alayla reports that she was supposed to be out before Christmas. We would really like to see her progress when she is released.
No further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, anyone else?
No,
All right, anything further from the department?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. Any witnesses?
No witnesses, Your Honor. We would just request that the child not be moved to any fictive kin placement without hearing before the court.
Okay. Mr. Taylor, any witnesses?
no, Your Honor.
Mr. Ingram, recommendation?
Continue department as temporary managing conservator. Continue placement as is. Child's doing well in current placement.
Okay. All right, then. I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue the current placement. I will order that Josiah not be moved without a prior hearing. I will order Isaiah Cabello to hair strand and UA drug screen by 4 p.m. today. And I will order paternity testing for Mr. Cabello and the child.
Your Honor, I believe paternity testing has already been ordered. Is that correct, Amy?
Oh, you're right. I ordered it on August 28th, so forget that. Okay, our next hearing will be on May 6th, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or so in advance of May 6th to see what time we'll actually have that hearing. I will call 2 Randall County related cases for final hearings. That accounts for all of the
I kind of got wondering.
I'm sorry?
Sorry.
Okay, that accounts for everyone as far as parties except for Mr. Smith. This case was set for 11:30. It's 11:33. We'll proceed in his absence. And then I have quite a few people in the waiting room that have been listed as witnesses in the witness list provided by Ms. Wiggins. So I guess we're ready to proceed. Ms. Wiggins, you can call your first witness.
Thank you, Judge. Can I have the caseworker, Jordan Alford, be let in?
Yes, ma'am.
And I did see Miss Marshall at the beginning of the hearing, but I do not see her.
Yeah, she fell out, but she's back in the waiting room. Let me get
Okay.
her back in. Now,
Thank
now
you.
she's out of the waiting room. We'll give her a second to join us again.
Okay, thanks.
And while we're waiting, Your Honor, I've reached out to Mr. Smith numerous times. I've had a hard time just getting his phone number, but I did contact him via our app and via email to notify him of the hearing today.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Kincaid. All right. We'll take just a minute and see if Ms. Marshall joins us again.
Thank you, Judge. I call Haley Jorrent.
Hey.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Jorrent, how are you currently employed?
I am a supervisor with the Department of Family and Protective Services.
And are back in, sorry, I'm going to get the date, back in December of 2022, were you an investigator at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
And you've now since become a supervisor in an investigation unit, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, on December 6th of 2022, was an investigation started on 3 children?
Yes, ma'am.
And at the beginning of the investigation, were there issues trying to locate the parents?
Yes, ma'am, there was.
And on December 27th of 2022, let's see. Well, at some point in time, did you get assigned to this case? I'm sorry, let's back up.
Yes, I did.
And when you got assigned this case, what was going on during the investigation?
The previous worker had did make contact with the family, and the family had denied any domestic violence or drug use. At that time is when they were requested a drug screen. And then at that time is when I was assigned the case.
And when they were asked a drug screen, do you know if they went immediately or if it took them a couple of days to respond?
It took them 2 days to respond.
And they did subsequently take UA analysis drug screens, is that correct?
Yes, they did.
And Judge, I'd like to offer petitioner's exhibit number 5. It is drug screen results from December 12th of 2022, the urine screens, and a hair follicle on January 6th of 2023 for Ashley Marshall.
All right. Objections?
No objections.
Petitioner's 5 is admitted.
And let's see, and the results what were the results for the urinalysis for Ashley Marshall?
She was positive for methamphetamine and marijuana.
And at that time, did Mr. Smith's UA come back negative?
Yes, it did.
And based on that information of the UAs, what did the department decide to do at that time?
At that time, we had implemented supervision with actually Mr. Smith being the supervising party due to his negative drug screen.
And at that point in time, what was the department looking to do in order to help the family with services?
We were going to implement the safety plan with supervision between mom and the children and refer the case to family-based safety services.
And did something happen in the interim that, let me back up. Did you make a request of Mr. Smith and he indicated that he had COVID? What was the situation there?
I was going to meet with the family on December 28th so that we could officially sign the safety plan. And he had texted me that morning stating that he had COVID.
And on January 5th of 2023, did you hold a family team meeting?
Yes, we did.
And were both parents present at that family team meeting?
Yes, they were.
And did you confront Mr. Smith with the letter he sent you saying the family he was positive for COVID?
Yes, I did.
And what was his response?
He had admitted to me that he had falsified the document.
And did that cause you concern?
Yes.
And at that point in time, did you decide to change the previous safety plan to a new safety plan?
Yes, we actually had requested that the couple safety place their children outside of their care.
And what was their response?
They agreed.
And did they also agree to do a hair strand follicle for the department?
They did.
And Judge, at this time, I would like to offer Petitioner's Exhibit 6. It's a drug screen results for Jesse Smith, a hair follicle screen on January 6th of 2023.
All right. Objections?
No objections, Your Honor.
No objection.
All right. Petitioner 6 is admitted.
And Ms. Jorrent, did you receive the results of the hair strand follicle for Mr. Smith?
Yes, we did.
And what were the results of that?
He was positive for methamphetamine at a very high level.
Okay, was it basically 25,980?
Yes, ma'am.
And based on that information, we now had information to believe that both parents were using methamphetamine. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
And did Mr. Smith actually reach out to you before you received the results of that screen?
He did. He reached out to me on January 12th through a text message, and he admitted that he would not return, his drug screen would not return negative.
And that indicated to you what?
That he was using.
Okay. And did his hair strand confirm that for the department?
Yes, it did.
And did Ms. Smith also, I'm sorry, not Ms. Smith, Ms. Marshall also have a hair follicle drug screen on January 6th of 2023?
Yes, she did as well.
And was that positive as well?
The case had transferred at that point. I had only received Mr. Smith's at that point.
Okay. And Judge, I'll just have the court refer to Petitioner Exhibit 5.
Okay.
Now, you said, was the plan still to refer the case over to the Family-Based Safety Services?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that an attempt to eliminate the need to remove the children from the parents formally?
Yes, ma'am.
And they had also agreed to a safety placement at that time?
Yes, they did.
And who did they agree to safety place the children with?
Miss Brandy Crooks and her husband, Casey.
And they actually picked up the children on January 5th of 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
Now,
they didn't pick them up. They left from the CPS office with them. And it was January 6th that we actually had that meeting. I just wanted to throw that out there. It wasn't the 5th.
Miss Marshall, Miss Marshall, don't throw anything else out. Don't interfere when the witness is being questioned.
Well, I mean, it's false.
Go ahead, Miss Wiggins.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Jornt, did you have any other interactions with the family?
I didn't.
All right, I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, Miss Christie.
No questions, Your Honor.
Miss Kincaid.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Adams.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Ms. Jornt, was Mr. Rivas in the home when the kids were removed, or when the kids went to the family safety plan?
Was he in the home?
Yes.
No.
Dominic was incarcerated and has been up until this last year.
Miss Marshall. Miss Marshall, I'm going to warn you.
I'm going to remove myself.
You're going to. Excuse me. Listen to me, Miss Marshall. If you interfere one more time, I'm going to remove you from your own hearing.
Okay, but it's unfair, Judge, that throughout the.
Go ahead, Miss Wiggins.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Adams.
And what was your understanding of Mr. Rivas's relation to the children?
He was the father of the oldest child.
And he wasn't taking care of the child at the time of this occurred. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what was your understanding of where he was at the time?
He was incarcerated, sir.
Do you know where he was incarcerated?
I don't remember that. I'm sorry.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor. Pass the witness.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right. Any follow-ups for Miss Jornt from anyone?
I don't know if Ms. Kincaid had an.
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Kincaid. I skipped you again.
Oh, I have no questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. All right. No, if no one else has anything else for Miss Jornt, can she be excused?
I have one follow-up question, Judge.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Jornt, you indicated that Mr. Rivas was incarcerated at the time of all of your investigation. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you become aware, or did Ms. Marshall indicate what his relationship was like with the child?
I actually don't remember that conversation with her.
Okay, that's fine. Pass the witness, Judge.
Anyone else? All right, then, can she be excused?
I have no objection, Judge.
No
All right.
objection.
Ms. Jornt, thank you for your testimony. I'll remove you so you can go about your afternoon's business.
Thank you,
Ms.
sir.
Wiggins, next witness.
I would call Keegan Ramirez. And
Okay.
on January 12th of 2023, were you a family-based safety services worker then?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you make contact with the home of the Crooks to view 3 children?
Yes,
His
ma'am.
mom, Ashley Marshall.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you view the children at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
And how were the children doing in that placement?
At that time, they were perfectly fine with no safety concerns.
Okay, and was the relationship to Brandy and Casey Crooks, are they an aunt and uncle of the children?
Yes, ma'am.
And did the home appear to be appropriate for the children at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, on January 19th of 2023, did you meet with Ashley Marshall and Jesse Smith?
Yes, ma'am.
And how were they when you met with them at that time?
They were perfectly fine. I believe at that time we were going over information for me to create their family plan of service.
Okay. And at that time, did they appear to be willing to engage in services?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at that point in time, did you set up visitation between those parents and the Crooks in the Crooks' home?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
And on January 24th of 2023, did they have a visit in that home?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that point in time, did something happen after the visit?
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
And did that situation cause the parents to not be welcome in that home anymore?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the response what the parents gave you after you informed them that visitation would be moved?
If I remember correctly, I didn't get a response. I just informed them that their visitation was going to be moved to the department.
Okay. And based on that situation, did you go to the home at any point in time to check on the children?
Yes, ma'am, on the 25th, the next day.
Okay. And how were the children?
The children were good.
Okay. And had there been an allegation that there were some bruises on Jeremiah?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see any bruises on the child at that day?
No, ma'am.
And let's see. At that point in time, did something else happen on January 25th of 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you go back to the residence?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you observe when you returned?
Well, I think I had returned on the 25th, and that was my first initial visit. I don't think I went twice.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
The window up at the front door had been broken, and there was glass inside of the house. The uncle was currently cleaning up while a police officer was there investigating.
Okay. And did you end up talking to the children at that time about what had happened?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you you spoke to Jeremiah, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he indicate to you?
Jeremiah said he was scared when the glass had broken and had asked Brandy if the glass was still down there, as all the kids were upstairs during the incident.
Okay. Was he aware of who was present that made him scared?
No, ma'am.
Now, at that point in time, did you speak to the other children?
Yes, I had spoken with Zephaniah.
Okay. And to be fair, Javian was born July 8th of 2022, so he was unable to talk to you. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what did Zephaniah indicate to you?
At that time, Zephaniah was playing video games with his cousin, and he pretended that he wasn't scared. He told me he wasn't, and he just wanted to play his video games.
Okay. And why did you feel like he was pretending to not be scared?
But just due to his age and not wanting to basically seem like he was scared in front of his other older cousin.
Okay. Did you feel like he was trying to act older than he was?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And at that point in time, he was born in June of 2015, so he was about 7.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in regards to the incident, were you able to view a video of the incident that happened?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that through a Ring camera doorbell?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you have experience with Ring cameras?
Yes, ma'am.
And had you been made aware that that video had been altered in any way?
No, ma'am.
And who did you view on the video?
Jesse and Ashley.
Okay. And just to clarify, that was Jesse Smith and Ashley Marshall.
Yes, ma'am.
And were you able to see what happened to the window?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened?
Jesse was pounding on the side glass next to the door, and all of a sudden his hand went through the window where he backed out, and on the camera was saying he didn't mean to do that, he didn't mean to do that, and then walked to the front yard where Ashley was.
Okay. And did you hear Ashley shout anything at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that point in time, were you able to, was there shouting? Were they quiet? What was going on with the demeanor of the parents?
Once Jesse had left the front door, while Jesse was at the front door, Ashley was yelling obscenities. And then when Jesse went back, he had informed her that he had busted the window down and didn't mean to do that. But then Ashley had said that she was going to break all of the windows in the house.
And at some point in time, did the two of them leave?
Yes, ma'am.
And did they leave before officers arrived or after?
Before officers arrived.
And at that point in time, did the department feel that the family-based safety services would be appropriate for this family?
At that time, we deemed it not appropriate to continue the family-based case.
And did you believe that the children were in imminent danger if they were not removed formally from the parents?
Yes, ma'am.
And did the department exhaust all efforts to avoid removing the children from the parents?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Thank you, Ms. Christie.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Adams,
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Kincaid,
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right. Anything further from Mr. Ramirez?
No, Your Honor.
All right. May he be excused.
I have no objection.
No objection.
Okay. Mr. Ramirez, thank you for your testimony. I'll remove you so you can go about your afternoon's business.
Thank you, Judge. I would call Officer Juan Guerrero.
Okay, Ms. Wiggins.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Guerrero, how are you currently employed?
As a police officer with the Emerald Police Department.
And how long have you worked for APD?
9 years, a little bit over 9 years.
And were you working for the Amarillo Police Department on July 18th of 2020?
Yes, ma'am.
And in what capacity were you working?
I was a patrolman.
And at approximately 12:07 p.m., did you get dispatched to a Walmart location?
Yes, ma'am.
And why were you dispatched?
Other officers were dispatched, and I was close to the area, so I figured I'd go by and see if they needed help.
Okay, at that point in time, did you receive information about what the stolen vehicle looked like?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that point in time, did you also get a description of what the individual was wearing that took the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And at any point in time, what happened after you received that information?
I met up with another officer, Officer Ramirez, I believe, and he was talking to the caller. As they were talking, I saw two males walking out of Lowe's, the store right next to Walmart, that matched the description that we were given.
Okay. And did you also, in that parking lot, were you able to identify the stolen vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that point in time, it had been entered in NCIC-TCIC as stolen. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you make contact with the two individuals walking towards the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you identify them?
Yes, ma'am.
And what were their names?
The first one was Dominic Rivas, and the other subject was Christopher Olin.
Okay. And at that point in time, did you talk to did you run Mr. Rivas and Mr. Holguin through your system?
Yes, ma'am.
And why do you run individuals through the system?
We checked everybody for warrants.
Okay. At that point in time, did you locate any warrants?
Yes, ma'am.
And who were they for?
For Mr. Rivas.
Okay. At that point in time, what did you end up deciding to do?
Arrest Mr. Rivas for the warrants.
Okay. Did you search Mr. Rivas?
Yes, ma'am.
And did he consent to that search?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you locate?
I did not find anything when I first searched Mr. Rivas.
Okay. And at that point in time, did you talk to Mr. Rivas after you read him his rights?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he state to you?
He denied any knowledge of the pickup. And he kept telling me that he had served time for his warrants.
And based on your running Mr. Rivas through warrants, did they still come back active?
Yes, ma'am.
And once Mr. Rivas realized that you were going to proceed with the arrest, did he tell you something?
Yes, ma'am. He stated that he had methamphetamine in his one of his socks.
Okay. And did he indeed have methamphetamine in his sock?
Yes, ma'am.
And was he then taken to jail?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Thank you, Ms. Christie.
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Kincaid,
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Adams.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Guerrero, did you take the methamphetamines from Mr. Rivas for what you claim to be methamphetamine?
I don't remember if I took them or if another officer took them. I believe I took them.
Do you know if they were booked into evidence?
Yes, sir. They had to have been booked into evidence.
Do you know whether they were tested or not?
At the time, we weren't testing, or I'm sorry, as a patrol officer, we did not test them. We would just book them, and somebody else would test them. So I did not test them.
Okay, and you don't have any knowledge of anybody else testing them?
I'm sure they did, but I don't know who did.
Okay. Did you arrest him for the stolen car as well?
I believe he was just arrested for the methamphetamine and the warrants.
Okay. Do you remember what the warrants were for?
Yeah, they were for no driver's license, or I'm sorry, driving while license invalid, operate unregistered motor vehicle, fail to maintain financial responsibility, and no seatbelt.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kincaid, I don't know if I'd ask you if you had questions.
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
All right, anybody have follow-ups for Officer Guerrero?
I do not, Judge. I would like to offer petitioners exhibits 18 and 19 at this time. Petitioner exhibit 18 is a certified copy of an information against Dominic Rivas in cause number 079-657-D-CR for possession of a controlled substance, penalty group 1 under 1 gram out of Potter County.
All right, objections?
No objection.
All right, so 18's admitted.
And then we would offer petitioner exhibit 19. It is the judgment in the same cause. And it indicated 12-month state jail felony or state jail was the sentence.
Okay. Objections?
No objection.
All right, petitioner's 19 is admitted.
And Judge, at this time, we would offer petitioner exhibit 24. Due to the 13 exhibits that I'm entering, all criminal judgments and informations or indictments, we felt that it would be best for all the parties for demonstrative purposes to have a summation of those.
All right, Officer Guerrero, thank you for your testimony and thank you for your service. I'll remove you so you can go about your afternoon's business.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Wiggins, next witness.
I would call Officer Ricky Matthews. Mr. Matthews, how are you currently employed?
With the Amarillo Police Department.
And what do you do for the Amarillo Police Department?
I'm a police officer.
Okay. And how long have you been a certified police officer?
12 and a half years.
And I apologize, are you a certified police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And specifically on November 7th of 2021, were you working in that capacity?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that point in time, were you a patrol officer?
Yes, ma'am.
And on that date, let's see, I guess at some point in time sorry, I'm trying to look at the time. Was it approximately, I'm really bad at military time. Is that, what time did you have an incident involving a Dominic Rivas?
On my report, I didn't indicate it, but I know it's on 11/7 of 21. At that time, I was working 3 to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So it had been, or in the morning, it had been during my shift, probably later evening.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. And at that point in time, what caught your attention?
I was working normal patrol duties. While doing that, we proactively searched for stolen vehicles, wanted folks, such like that. I observed a stolen vehicle, which was on our stolen vehicle list that gets issued weekly, drive by me at Line in Florida.
And based on that observation, did you attempt to pull over that vehicle?
Yes, ma'am. And I initiated a vehicle pursuit as that vehicle fled from me.
Okay. And did the vehicle, just to clarify, did you activate your emergency lights?
Yes, ma'am. Emergency lights and sirens.
And at that point in time, did the car yield to that detention?
No, ma'am.
And at that point in time, were you trailing or following that vehicle?
Actively pursuing that vehicle. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for clarifying that. And about how long did that happen, that pursuit happen?
The vehicle pursuit itself was approximately 1.5 to 2 minutes, just a few blocks.
Okay. And at some point in time with the vehicle, did it come to a stop?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened when it came to a stop?
The driver, Mr. Rivas, evaded on foot from the vehicle.
And prior to that, had another individual jumped out of the vehicle as well?
Yes, a female jumped out of the passenger seat.
Okay. And the individual that jumped out of the driver's seat, did you begin a chase, or I guess a foot chase for him?
Yes, ma'am. He evaded on foot for approximately 2 blocks.
Okay. Were you able to detain that individual?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you identify him as a Dominic Rivas?
Yes, ma'am.
And was he taken into custody without further incident after that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you have a conversation with him after you read him his Miranda rights?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he indicate to you?
He indicated that he knew the vehicle was stolen and that he ran because he was scared.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, Ms. Christie,
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Kincaid,
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Adams,
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right, any follow-ups for Officer Matthews?
No, Your Honor.
All right, may he be excused.
No objection.
No objection.
All right, Officer Matthews, thank you for your testimony. Thank you for your service. I'll remove you so you can go about your afternoon's business.
Thank you, Your Honor. Y'all have a good day.
You too.
Thank you, Judge. At this time, I would like to offer some exhibits to the court.
Okay.
I'd like to offer Petitioner Exhibit 20. It's an indictment against Dominic Rivas and cause number 081822-E-CR for evading with a motor vehicle in Potter County.
All right, objections? All right, petitioner's 20 is admitted.
I would offer Petitioner's 21. It is the judgment in that same cause number out of Potter County, in which he was sentenced to 4 years in Texas Department of Criminal Justice.
Objections?
No objection.
All right, petitioner's 21 is admitted.
Then I'd like to offer Petitioner's Exhibit 22. It's an indictment against Dominic Rivas in cause number 082021-E-CR for unauthorized use of a motor vehicle enhanced out of Potter County.
Objections?
No objection.
All right, petitioner's 22 is admitted.
And I'd like to offer Petitioner's Exhibit 23. It's a nunc pro tunc judgment against Dominic Rivas out of the same cause out of Potter County, and it's 4 years TDCJ.
All right, objections?
No
Okay,
objection.
petitioner's 23 is admitted.
Thank you, Judge. I'd also like to enter Petitioner's Exhibit 10. It's an indictment against Dominic Rivas in cause number 69363-A for theft of a firearm.
Objections? All right, petitioner's 10 is admitted.
I'd offer Petitioner's Exhibit 11. It's the order for deferred adjudication in cause number 69363-A.
Objections? Petitioner's 11 is admitted.
I'd offer Petitioner's Exhibit 12. It is a certified copy of the motion to adjudicate in cause number 69363-A.
Objections? Petitioner's 12 is admitted.
I'd offer Petitioner's Exhibit 13. It is the judgment for cause number 69363-A for 9 months state jail.
Objections? All right, 13, petitioner's 13 is admitted.
I'd like to offer Petitioner's Exhibit 14. It's an indictment against Dominic Rivas in cause 29463-A for unauthorized use of a motor vehicle out of Randall County.
Objections? Petitioner's 14 is admitted.
I'd offer Petitioner's Exhibit 15. It's the judgment in cause 29463-A for 12 months state jail.
Objections? Petitioner's 15 is admitted.
I'd offer Petitioner's Exhibit 16. It's an indictment against Dominic Rivas in cause number 79654-D for unauthorized use of a motor vehicle out of Potter County.
Objections? Petitioner 16 is admitted.
And then finally, I'd offer Petitioner's Exhibit 17. It's a judgment in cause number 79654-D for 12 months state jail.
Petitioner 17 is admitted. All right, Ms. Wiggins, your next witness.
I would call Jordan Alford. And how long have you been working for St. Francis Ministries? Sorry.
Almost 2 years.
And were you assigned to a case involving the Smith and Rivas children?
Yes.
And when you received the case from investigations, where were the children placed?
They were with Brandy and Casey Crooks.
And were they the biologically related aunt and uncle for the Smith children?
Yes.
And then a fictive kin for Zephaniah?
Yes.
And how are the children currently placed in that same placement?
Yes.
And how are the children doing in that placement?
They're doing really well.
And have the Crooks been able to take care of all their medical, educational, dental, and psychological needs?
Yes.
Are any of the children in counseling at this time?
Yes.
And which children?
Zephaniah and Jeremiah recently started play therapy.
And are any of the children on medication?
Zephaniah is.
Okay. And is that medication being monitored every 30 days?
Yes.
And has he been able to express to you how he feels, or have you seen a change in his behavior?
Yes. I recently talked with him about it. He said he feels like it does help him. He said he feels good on it and he doesn't have any negative side effects.
Okay. And what type of behaviors is he on the medication for?
He's had some aggression and mood disorder type thing. He's hit the placement in the face. He's fought with his cousins. He just gets really angry and can't really control his emotions.
Okay. And has placement noticed a change in him since he's been on this medication?
Yes, they do feel that it's helped.
Great. And if the parents' rights are terminated, what is the long-term goal for the children?
The placement would like to adopt them.
Now, regarding the two younger children, their father is Jesse Smith. Is that correct?
Yes.
And based on the allegations in the investigation, were the main issues that the department had identified were drug use and some anger aggression?
Yes.
And did you create a service plan to address those issues on Jesse Smith's service plan and Ashley Marshall's service plan?
Yes.
And do you believe they were reasonably tailored to address those issues?
Yes.
Judge, I'd like to offer Petitioner Exhibit 1. It is Ashley Marshall's
All right,
service plan.
Petitioners 1 is admitted.
I'd like to also offer Petitioner Exhibit 2. It's a certified copy of Ashley Marshall's service plan and cause number 7.
Objections? Petitioners 2 is admitted.
And then I would offer the Jesse Smith's service plan, Petitioner Exhibit 3, and cause number
No
8.
objections.
Petitioners 3 is admitted.
Now, were you able to go over the service plans with the parents?
Yes.
And did Miss Marshall ask you any questions if she had any?
No.
Did she didn't have any questions?
No.
And did she seem to understand what was being requested of her?
Yes.
And did you go over the service plan with Mr. Smith?
Yes.
And did he also understand what was being requested of him?
Yes, he did.
Now, in regards to Mr. Rivas, when you received the case, where was Mr. Rivas?
He was incarcerated.
And at what point in time was he released?
It was at the end of August in 2023.
And before then, had you created a service plan for Mr. Rivas?
Yes.
I'd like to offer Petitioner Exhibit 4. It's his certified copy of his service plan for 7.
No objections.
Petitioners 4 is admitted.
And did that service plan attempt to address some of the issues that were observed from his past criminal history?
Yes.
And again, was it tailored for Mr. Rivas in hopefully acquiring some skills to be able to adequately protect and have his child placed with him?
Yes.
Now, had you talked to Mr. Rivas or Ms. Marshall about Mr. Rivas's relationship with Zephaniah beforehand?
Yes.
And what was his relationship or contact with Zephaniah before he went to jail?
He really did not have a relationship with the child.
And regarding Mr. or Miss Marshall, did she drug screen for you on November 3rd of 2023?
Pull it up.
Okay.
Yes.
And was that a hair screen test?
Yes.
Judge, I'd like to offer Petitioner Exhibit 7. It is the results from that November 3rd of 2023 hair screen follicle for Ashley Marshall.
Objections?
No objections.
All right, Petitioner 7 is admitted.
And what were the results of those drug screen?
She was positive for methamphetamines at a level of 14,882. She was positive for amphetamines at a level of 805 and positive for marijuana at a level of 4.0.
And was that the last hair follicle drug screen that she has done for you?
Yes.
And when was the last drug screen that she completed at all?
It was in November. It was that hair strand.
And did you request her to drug screen in the month of December?
I could not get a hold of her in the month of December.
When was the last time you had contact with Miss Marshall?
It was I actually on December 12th. I did talk to her.
Okay. And at that point in time, did she give you any progress or update on her services and what she was doing at that time?
She told me that she needed to get into treatment as soon as possible. I asked her if she had contacted Synacor because that was kind of our last opportunity, I guess. She had gotten kicked out of Serenity and left Serenity, so she wasn't allowed to go back there. She did call Synacor after we spoke, and she was supposed to go back to Synacor on December 16th.
Have you received information on whether or not she completed that inpatient or attended that inpatient?
She did not go.
Now, in regards to Miss Marshall, we talked about that service plan that you created. I'd like to go through the services and see if she completed those at this time, okay?
Okay.
First one is she signed all her releases, is that correct?
Yes.
Does she have stable housing?
She currently lives with her father.
And in regards to employment, is she employed?
No.
Has she maintained regular contact with the department?
For the most part, yes. It's been kind of off and on.
And so visitation was started with her and the children, is that correct?
Yes.
And at some point in time, was it suspended by the court?
Yes, I believe in July of 2023.
And the judge ordered that visitation not resume until she completed her inpatient treatment, is that correct?
Correct.
Has she completed an inpatient drug treatment?
No.
Did she complete the or the parenting classes through Padre?
No.
Has she maintained sobriety?
No.
Did she complete a OSAR evaluation?
Yes, she had 2, I believe.
Did she follow up with the treatment recommended by the OSAR?
No, she did not.
Did she complete a psychosocial evaluation?
Yes, she did.
Did she complete her counseling?
No, she did not.
Did she complete a TPC evaluation? Oh, I'm sorry. She was counseling with TPC. I apologize.
No, she did not complete that.
Okay. Did she complete anger control training?
No.
Now, at this time, let's see. Let's talk a little bit about Mr. Smith. The last drug screen that Mr. Smith completed for you, was that in June of 2023?
Yes.
And Judge, at this time, I'd like to offer Petitioner Exhibit 8. It's the UA drug screen from June 23rd of 2023 for Jesse Smith.
Objections?
No objection.
Petitioner's 8 submitted.
And what were the results of that screen?
He was positive for amphetamines at a level of 1891, methamphetamines at a level of 991, and hydrocodone at a level of 4,145.
And the hydrocodone, he did have a legally valid prescription for that medicine. Is that correct?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Now, regarding Mr. Smith, did an incident happen to where Mr. Smith had to go to the hospital during the case?
Yes.
And what transpired?
He had been shot in the stomach.
Okay. And Judge, at this time, I'd like to offer Petitioner Exhibit 9. It's an indictment against Jesse Smith for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
Objections?
No objection.
Petitioner's 9 is submitted.
Now, has Mr. Smith complied with any of other drug screens that you have requested in the months of July, August, September, and November?
No.
And when was the last contact that you had with Mr. Smith?
It would have been the day that I picked Ashley up to take her to Serenity. So that was November 8th, 2023.
And did he talk to you about himself going into inpatient treatment?
Yes, I spoke with him about it.
And to your knowledge, has he completed an inpatient treatment program?
No.
And was that ordered by the court when the judge suspended his visitation as well?
Yes.
Now, I'd also like to go over his service plan with you. Does he currently have stable housing?
No.
Is he working?
No.
Has he maintained consistent contact with you?
No.
Does he have transportation?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did he sign all the releases?
Yes, he did.
And again, we did talk about his refusal to, or lack of compliance of completing any type of UA or hair follicles after June. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so based on that information, with the last test being positive, do you believe he's maintaining his sobriety?
No, I do not.
And he did complete some OSAR evaluations, is that correct?
Yes.
But he did not complete the recommended treatment afterwards.
No.
Did he complete a parenting class?
No.
Did he take a psychosocial?
No.
Did he do individual counseling?
No.
Did he do the TPC Center's assessment?
No.
And did he complete the anger control training?
No.
Now, based on us going through these service plans for Ms. Marshall and Mr. Smith, is it a fair statement to say that they have not addressed the issues of drug use and aggression that were the reasons for the removal of the children?
Correct. They have not.
And the children have been in the care for over 9 months in the department's care, is that correct?
Yes.
And are they able to provide the children with a safe and stable environment?
No.
And have they exhibited any type of stability to you or the department over the course of the year?
No.
Now, in regards to the mother acting, do you believe it's in the children's best interest that her rights be terminated?
Yes.
And why do you believe that?
The children are doing very well where they are. They have a stable living environment. They are not around drugs and domestic violence and anger. So I think they're right where they need to be.
Okay. And do you believe that the children, Javen and Jeremiah, do you believe that it would be in the children's best interest for the father's rights, Jesse Smith, to be terminated?
Yes.
And why do you believe that?
Same reasons I stated a minute ago, that the drug usage, the stability has not been there. So they have a very safe environment where they are right now.
And do you believe that they would be able to, or Mr. Smith would be able to provide a emotional and physically safe space for these children?
No.
And based on your experience with him in the past year, do you believe that in the future he would be successful?
No.
And in regards to Ms. Marshall, do you believe that she is capable of providing emotional and physical safety for the child now in the future?
No.
And just to clarify, the children were living with the parents prior to the removal, Jesse Smith and Ms. Marshall, is that correct?
Yes.
And in regards to Mr. Rivas, you indicated that when you first received the case, he was incarcerated, is that correct?
Yes.
And when he was released, did you go over his service plan with him?
Yes, we did.
And how was he progressing on his services?
When he first got out, he was doing very well. He really hit the ground running, working his services. He wanted a relationship with his child, and he did well at first.
Okay. And was he having visitation with Zephaniah?
Yes.
And was that pretty much introducing Zephaniah to Mr. Rivas?
Yes.
And establishing a relationship between the two of them?
Yes.
And Zephaniah is 8, is that correct?
Yes.
And has he talked to you about his relationship with his father before the visitation?
Objection.
He was-
Hearsay.
Overrule. You can answer.
He was not aware that Dominique was his father. He had thought that Jesse was his father.
And how did the visitation go between Mr. Rivas and the child?
They went very well. They got along great. They had fun. Zeph and I loved going.
Okay. And what has changed?
Mr. Rivas stopped showing up to visits.
And when did he stop showing up to visits?
It was at the middle of November. I think the first one he missed was November 13th.
And how has that his missed visit, how has that affected the child?
He has struggled a bit with it. He doesn't really understand why he stopped attending. He told me that it made him very sad. And he wished that his dad would go to the visits. He didn't want them to be canceled because he had hoped that he would start showing up, but once we had several missed visits, we did end up canceling them.
Okay. And did you cancel due to missing 6 visits in a row?
Yes.
And during During the course of this case, had Zephaniah already been struggling with mental health issues?
Yes.
And did this, in a lack of stability on visits, affect his emotional well-being as well?
Yes.
Did Mr. Rebus continue with his services after that time?
No.
And has Mr. Rebus completed any services?
No.
Okay, and I just want to go over a little bit with his service plan as well. We already talked a little bit about the visits and them not being consistent after November 13th of 2023. He missed November 13th, the 20th, the 27th, and then 3 visits in December. Does that sound accurate?
Yes.
So it was requested that he do a psychosocial evaluation, and he completed that. Is that correct?
Yes.
But it did recommend him to do counseling. Did he complete counseling?
He did not complete. He did start it.
And does he, at this point in time, have stable housing?
Not that I'm aware of.
Was it your understanding that he was living with his grandfather at one point?
Yes.
And did you receive information that he's currently not living there?
Yes.
Do you know where he's living?
He did provide me a new address last month.
Okay. Were you able to go to that address?
I was not.
Now, in regards to employment, is he currently employed?
Not that I'm aware of.
And let's see. Has he recently completed drug testing?
No, he is not.
And let's see. He did complete his UA follicle November 1st of 2023. Is that correct?
Yes.
But did he drug screen for the department for a hair and a UA in December?
No, he did not.
And so at this time, are we able to confirm whether or not he is maintaining his sobriety?
No, I'm not.
And have he completed the parenting program through Padre?
No, he has not.
At this point in time, do you believe it be in Zephaniah's best interest that the parental rights of the father be terminated?
Yes, I do.
And why do you believe that?
He has not been able to show that he can provide a safe and stable living environment for Zephaniah. We're unsure if he is sober because he is not drug screened. He did not drug screen in December. And he has not formed that relationship with Zephaniah.
And based on the fact that he lacked a relationship with the child, and then the child had a good relationship and then it stopped again, do you believe any more interruptions and instability would be harmful to the child?
Yes.
And do you believe that he is getting stability in his current placement?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, thank you, Ms. Christie.
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Kincaid,
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Adams,
Yes, Your Honor, thanks. Have you talked, when was the last time you talked to Mr. Rebus?
It was I had asked him for a current address on December 19th, and he did reply to that.
Did you ask him about his work at that time?
No, I had tried to speak with him previously, and I did not get a hold of him.
And he attended several visits before they stopped, is that correct?
Yes, he did.
No more questions.
all right, Mr. Ingram,
No questions.
all right. Anyone have follow-up questions for Ms. Alford?
No, Your Honor.
No? All right, then. All right, Ms. Wiggins, did you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, we rest.
All right, thank you. Ms. Christie, did you have witnesses?
No, Your Honor. The mother rests.
Okay. Ms. Kincaid, any witnesses?
No witnesses, Your Honor. Arrest.
All right, thank you. Mr. Adams, any witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to call my client, Mr. Rebus.
Okay. Mr. Rebus, if you'd raise your right hand, please. You swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're gonna have to speak up a little.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Adams.
Mr. Rivas, are you working at this time?
Yes, sir. I'm currently employed. I'm self-employed.
And what kind of work are you doing?
Just any really just side jobs, masonry jobs, cement, stuff like that.
Mainly construction?
Yes, sir.
Have you been working consistently over the last month or so?
Yes, sir.
Every day?
Not every day. We got 2 days off.
Have you had a hard time attending the visits with Zephaniah because of work?
Yes, sir. And I've also told, I can't remember who was I told them. I told one of them about the situation I was in because my visitation hours were during my work hours.
Okay. Did you ask for visitation to be changed to a time that you could make it?
I asked them, but I don't think there's something they would already try to help me figure it out. But
I didn't hear
Can't
that.
hear you.
You're cutting out.
You're cutting out, Mr. Rivas. We can't hear you.
I don't really hear anything from them, so I didn't really ask for change my visitation hours. I figured it was already kind of working on it. I don't know. I mean, I didn't ask. No.
Did you have a service plan with the department?
With Whitney and them, yes, sir.
Did you understand the service plan?
Yes, sir.
Were you trying to work services?
I was working them, yes, sir.
Would it be your intent to continue to work services if your rights weren't terminated today?
I mean, if I really have, I mean, honestly, if I really have to, yeah, I'd go back to continuing them, but I mean, I don't know.
Did you talk to the department about Zephaniah going to live with your mother?
Yes, sir. And Jordan is supposed to already been taking care of that, allegedly.
Okay. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Wiggins.
I have no questions.
All right, Ms. Christie.
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Kincaid.
No questions.
Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
Okay. Mr. Adams, did you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor. We rest.
All right. And Mr. Ingram, did you have witnesses?
No witnesses.
Okay. Everyone rest and close then.
Yes, sir.
Rest and close.
Okay. All right. Then Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Yes, sir. With regard to Zephaniah, I believe it to be in his best interest that the mother's, Ashley Marshall's parental rights be terminated. Further recommend that his father, Dominique Rivas, parental rights be terminated, that the department be named as permanent managing conservator and his placement to remain as is. With the case in regard to Jeremiah and Jay, recommend it is in their best interest that their mother, Ashley Marshall's parental rights be terminated, that their father, Jesse Smith's parental rights be terminated, that the department be named as permanent managing conservator, placement to remain as is. Placement with the Crooks is going very well. Children are all thriving in that placement right where they need to be, and recommend that placement continue.
All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. Give me a minute here. As to cause number, I do find that it's in the best interest of parental rights of the mother, Ashley Marshall, and the father, Jesse Smith, be terminated. I'll terminate the rights to each of those parents based on Texas Family Code Section 161.001, subsection B10. I will name the department permanent managing conservator, continue the Smith children's current placements. I will continue the Randall County Domestic Relations Office in the case. All other court-appointed relationships will be dismissed after all appellate and de novo periods have expired. Ms. Christie and Ms. Kincaid, if you would discuss with your clients their appellate and their de novo rights. In that case, our next hearing, the review hearing, will be held on April 1st, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearings, so parties and any parties and attorneys left in the case can go online on the court's online docket to see what time on April 1st that hearing will take place. I find that it's in the best interest of Zephaniah, parental rights of the mother, Ashley Marshall, and the father, Dominique Rivas, be terminated. I'll terminate those rights today based solely on Texas Family Code Section 161.001, subsection B10. I'll name the department permanent managing conservator of Zephaniah, continue his current placement. I will continue the Randall County Domestic Relations Office in that case. All other court-appointed relationships will be dismissed after all appellate de novo periods have expired. Again, Christie and Mr. Adams, if you would discuss with your clients their appellate and de novo periods, their appellate and de novo rights of appeal. And in that case, also, the next review hearing will be held on April 1st, 2024. Again, you can go on the court's online docket today or two in advance. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the children. Mr. Michelson is with us representing the mother, Ms. Smith. And is it Bowie or Bowie?
Bowie.
Bowie. All right. Mr. Bowie, the alleged father, is with us. Before we get started, Mr. Bowie, I need to go over something with you. I know you have applied for a court-appointed attorney. However, in that application, you've requested paternity testing. The law says I can only give parents lawyers. So until we do the paternity testing and find out whether or not you are in fact the biological father of these kiddos, then I cannot give you an attorney.
Okay.
So I will make that part of the order today. If you want paternity testing, that will be part of my order. I can tell you that. So
I do believe that Mr. Michelson had indicated Ms. Smith was agreeable to the adversary hearing. If that's still the case, Mr. Michelson, can you let me know?
Yes, I believe that's her agreement.
All right. Mr. Bowie, let me explain to you what the department's asking is that these kiddos the department will be named or continue as temporary managing conservator of these kids. The next hearing would be the department would come up with written plans of service, things they want not until we see if you're the father, but what Ms. Smith would be the services they'd ask her to work. So what they're telling me is that she's agreeable to do that. And then we can talk about the services when we come back for our next hearing. So if you want to have a hearing, we can have the hearing. But I'm not in a position to place these children with you since you want paternity testing. I don't even know if you're the biological father. So I can't do that today. So we can have a hearing if you want, or you can just agree that the kids will remain in the department's custody until we come back, until we get your paternity testing done. So.
Okay, let's get the paternity test.
Okay, so you're agreeable to, just as Miss Smith is, to leave the kids with the department until we get your paternity testing done and come back to talk about any services y'all might be asked to work. Is that agreeable to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right then. Mr. Ingram, are you in agreement? Mr. Ingram?
Yes, sir, I am. I'm sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. I am in agreement with.
Okay, all right, then I will approve that agreement. I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator. Where, if someone can tell me where these children placed, what type of facility, and in what city or county?
Your Honor, they are placed together. Keegan, can you share with the court what type of placement and confirm the area, please?
Yes. So both children are currently placed together in Houston, Texas, in a foster home.
Okay.
And Your Honor, in addition to that, we do ask for the court to make findings of reasonable efforts, both to prevent the removal and to place the children back home. We are facilitating visitation. We worked an FBSS case with the mother. We did attempt to engage Mr. Bowie in services back in April and May during that investigation portion.
Okay.
So we're asking for those findings.
All right. So, and is anyone asking for drug testing today?
Keegan, what type of drug testing are we requesting?
Monitored UAs.
For both Kobe and for Neely?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Your Honor, we would also ask that a home study be completed on Christy Chandler, who is Neely's aunt.
Can you spell that name for me?
Would you spell it for them, Neely?
Christy.
And Your Honor, we also inquire if Mr. Bowie is asking for any home studies. I don't know if we can do two at one time. Keegan, are we able to do two at one time if it's court ordered?
I don't know that we're going to do that till we get the paternity testing back.
Oh, that's correct, Your Honor. I apologize.
All right. Ms. Smith and Mr. Bowie, do you both have your own transportation?
Yes, but it's not. I don't like driving in the snow because I slide a lot.
All right. Well, I'm going to order paternity. I'm going to order monitored UA drug test. Since the weather is bad, at least today, I'm going to order that by 4 p.m. tomorrow at Care Express in Amarillo. Do you both know where Care Express is?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, is it on Ross?
Yeah, Ross Osage. Yes, sir. So, okay, because of the weather, I will order that those monitored UAs be by 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
May I ask, When are we gonna do the paternity testing?
But they'll get with you to set it up. I couldn't tell you that today. Somebody from St. Francis will get with you to tell you when and where to go for that paternity testing.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, I will approve that agreement. I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue the children's current placements. I'll order both Ms. Smith and Mr. Bowie to provide a monitored UA drug screen by 4 p.m. tomorrow at Care Express on Ross Osage and Amarillo. I will order the home study on Christy Cheney, and I will order paternity testing for Mr. Bowie. All right, our next hearing, the status hearing, will be on February 12th, 2024. That will be by Zoom, just like today's hearing, so all the parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two before February 12th to see exactly what time we'll have that hearing. Okay, I appreciate y'all working that out. We will stand in recess on this case for any of